There are stories people whisper about in the dead of night, stories too terrifying to be myths, tales passed down through generations, warnings etched into history. But what if I told you that some of them were real? That there are those who have seen what others refuse to believe, who have lived through nightmares they can never escape. This is one such story, a story of faith, fear, and the unseen, a tale that blurs the line between reality and the supernatural, between belief and terror. Tonight, I will take you into the depths of a true Islamic horror event, one so chilling, so unexplainable, that it will make you question what truly exists beyond the veil of this world. But be warned, once you enter this realm of darkness, there's no turning back. Are you ready? It was a bitterly cold winter night, the kind of night where even the wind seemed hesitant to move, as if afraid of something lurking in the darkness. The moon, half hidden behind thick clouds, cast a pale, ghostly glow over the empty streets. A thin layer of mist clung to the ground, swirling with every hesitant gust of wind. The village was eerily silent, too silent. It wasn't just the absence of voices or distant footsteps. It was as if the world had momentarily forgotten this place, as if even time itself had paused. A young man, let's call him Ali, had just finished his Isha prayer. As he stepped out of the mosque, he could still feel the lingering warmth of the prayer hall behind him, but the cold outside was unforgiving, creeping into his bones. He began his walk home, following the same narrow path he took every night. But tonight, something felt different. The silence was too deep, too unnatural. The air felt thick and heavy, pressing down on him, making each breath feel harder. It was as if unseen eyes were watching from the shadows, hiding in the blind spots between the dimly lit alleyways. The village, usually alive with distant murmurs of families settling in for the night, held its breath. Even the stray dogs that often prowled the streets, barking at unseen threats, were nowhere to be found. No crickets chirped, no leaves rustled, just the distant sound of his own footsteps echoing, far too loud against the silence. Ali swallowed hard and tightened his scarf around his neck, the fabric offering little protection against the chilling sense of dread creeping up his spine. His pace quickened, but with each step the feeling grew stronger. Something was wrong. The screen zooms in on Ali's shadow, stretching unnaturally long behind him, its edges rippling like a dark tide. Then it moved, but he hadn't moved. Ali's breath hitched in his throat. The shadow on the ground should have mirrored his every movement, but this one didn't. He turned his head slightly, his pulse thundering in his ears. A shadow, but not his. It clung to the wall beside him, elongated and twisting in ways that defied logic. Its form flickered, shifting as if it were unstable, as if it wasn't meant to exist in this world. Ali's fingers curled into fists, his nails digging into his palms. Every instinct screamed at him to run, but his feet felt rooted to the ground. The air around him grew even colder, sending a sharp chill down his spine. It wasn't the cold of winter, it was something else, something unnatural. He forced himself to take a deep breath, his voice barely above a whisper as he uttered, "La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah." The shadow flickered again, shuddered, twisted, and then it disappeared. Ali exhaled shakily, his breath visible in the frigid air. He blinked, his eyes darting around the empty street. The silence pressed against him again, suffocating, heavy. "It's just my mind playing tricks," he tried to convince himself. But deep down, he knew better. Something had been there, and something was still watching. Then, something even worse happened. He heard it. Footsteps, heavy, slow, deliberate. Not the hurried shuffle of someone walking by, not the echo of his own steps bouncing off the walls. These were different. They came from right behind him, Ali's blood turned to ice. His body went rigid, every muscle locking in place. Someone was there. Slowly, his hands clenched at his sides. The night air pressed down on him, thick and suffocating. His ears strained to catch any other sound, any clue, but there was only the steady, rhythmic thud of footsteps, right behind him. His breathing turned shallow, his pulse pounding so loud he could hear it in his head. Then, gathering every ounce of courage, he spun around. Nothing. The street lay empty, bathed in the dim, flickering light of a lone street lamp. The buildings stood silent, their windows dark and lifeless. But the footsteps didn't stop. They were still there, getting closer. Ali's chest tightened. The cold seeped into his bones. This wasn't just fear. This was something else. Something wrong. He knew he had to keep moving. He had to get out of there. His house was just a few blocks away. If he could make it home, he would be safe. Wouldn't he? Taking a shaky breath, he forced himself forward, his steps quickening, each stride feeling heavier than the last. But deep inside, he had the sickening feeling that he wasn't walking alone anymore. Ali reaches his home. His hands tremble as he reaches for the door, but before he can touch it, it creaks open by itself. Finally, he reached his house. Relief washed over him as he grabbed the door handle. But just as he was about to push it open, it creaked open by itself. His heart stopped. The warm glow of the lantern inside flickered strangely, casting long, distorted shadows across the walls. The air inside felt colder than the night outside. And then, from the farthest corner of the room, he saw it. The screen zooms in on two glowing red eyes staring at Ali from the shadows. A deep, unnatural voice whispers, "You were warned." Two glowing eyes. Red, piercing, and completely still. Ali couldn't move. He couldn't breathe. The room felt like it was closing in on him. Then a voice so deep, so unnatural, it made his skin crawl. "You were warned." His legs gave out. Darkness swallowed him. Morning light fills the room. Ali's mother finds him unconscious by the door. She shakes him awake, her voice panicked. The next morning, his mother found him unconscious by the door. His body was ice cold, his lips trembling even in sleep. When he woke up, he refused to speak about what happened. But the look in his eyes, it was of someone who had seen something they were never meant to see. Later, a local scholar told him the truth. "That road you took last night, it passes through an abandoned graveyard. The jinn that live there do not like to be disturbed. Next time, never walk alone at night. Always recite your du'as. You were lucky this time." Ali never took that route again, and the voice he heard that night, it never spoke to him again. Dark screen. Slow, eerie music plays in the background. This is a reminder. We are not alone in this world. The unseen exist, just as we do. That's why our Prophet Muhammad taught us to always seek protection before stepping out at night. If you ever find yourself alone in the dark, remember to recite Ayatul Kursi, because some things should never be seen. Have you ever felt a presence watching you when no one was there? Have you ever heard whispers in an empty room, only to find yourself completely alone? There are things in this world that exist beyond human perception, shadows lurking in the dark, unseen forces moving among us. At Horror Creation, we bring you real horror stories based on true Islamic events, mysteries of the unseen, chilling encounters with jinns, and terrifying tales passed down through generations. If you love Islamic horror stories, supernatural encounters, and spine-chilling narrations, then subscribe now to Horror Creation and become a part of our community of truth seekers. Turn on the bell icon so you never miss an upload, because some stories are best left forgotten. Let me know if you need any modifications.